I'm one of the four lead organizers for Indivisible North Seattle. Got the cool swag T-shirt here. Check it out, people. Yeah, we're really great. Thankful to be here and thankful for the opportunity to speak with you today. As Rachel said, yeah, this is my 28th year as a public high school teacher. I've been teaching biology at Mount Lake Terrace High School for about 18 years now, and 10 years at Bragg Terrace Middle School. Thank you.
Thank
Go
you.
Hogs. Go Bulldogs. Thank you. Get that on camera. I'm here today to talk about the war on education in schools, but I think you'll find out pretty soon that this really isn't just about education in schools. It's about the war on truth. It's about the war on our environment. It's about the war on labor unions and workers' rights and on the future of our democracy and our republic. And I see people nodding their heads, realizing you kind of connected those dots already. Kind of preaching the choir here, but there will be a quiz on it later on. So, oftentimes, people will ask me how teaching has changed over 28 years, and if it's pretty much the same. And, you know, up to a couple years ago, my standard response was, no, it's pretty much the same. Kids are pretty much the same. Teenagers are teenagers. Human nature is pretty much the same. It doesn't change. But I think it's really just in the last couple of years that I've come to realize that, no, you know, teaching has changed. And the job is not the same for me as it was 28 years ago. And it's not that the kids have changed all that much. It's that the system has changed. When I started teaching and up to a few years ago, education really was about what's best for students and what's best for our schools. And I've only come to realize in the last few years that, yeah, it really isn't about that anymore. Education now is pretty much about what's best for a number of politicians and what's best to help them get reelected. And that changes the picture completely. Give you a few examples of this. As a science teacher, I've been involved in science testing for a number of years. Science testing, when it first started, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, was not a graduation requirement. It was not high stakes. It was really just meant as classroom testing is supposed to be. It was a measurement. It was a quality control to see if our students knew what they should know, were able to do what they should be able to do by whatever grade level it is. And it was based on something we call science literacy. Do you guys know what science literacy is? It's just what everybody should know about science in order to function as a basic, literate, productive adult in society. Like, for example, the Earth revolves around the sun, the moon revolves around the Earth, and that kind of stuff. It's changed since then. Science is now a graduation requirement. Science testing is now a graduation requirement based on a whole lot of science vocabulary that, unless you're a science major or a scientist, you don't necessarily really need to know. How many of you, for example, know the difference between a manipulated variable and a responding variable in a science experiment? A couple people do. How many could tell specifically what the difference is between validity and reliability in a science experiment? Are you a science major, madam? Are you a scientist? She is. There you go. Point made. So I'm not saying that these things aren't important, because they are actually important. I'm just saying they're not so important that you need to pin somebody's graduation on it, and that you can't function as an adult in society if you can't tell us the difference between a manipulated and responding variable. You think about the SAT, for example. SAT, is it a good measurement? Yeah, sure. Do colleges use it for admission? Sure they do. Do you have to pass the SAT to graduate? No, you don't, because it's just a useful measurement. And there's no reason why these science tests and other tests should be any different. The only reason that we're doing it is because a few legislators and politicians decided, you know what, this will look really good. If I can say that I made this test a graduation requirement, it's going to make me look good and help me get reelected. That's the only good reason this thing is there. Pardon my French. I'm on spring break. Second example from science. This year's, let me know when I'm going over time here. I could do this forever. This year's freshmen are now going to be required to take a third year of science to graduate. Up till now, they've only had to take 2 years. Generally, biology in 9th grade or 10th grade, physical science in the other grade, and that's it. You're good to go. If you want to go to college, probably ought to take a third year, fourth year. But now, again, because some legislators decided this would look good, now they have to take a third year. Maybe that doesn't sound like a big deal to you, but you think about it. If you're going to go to college, you're already taking a third year. So why does everybody have to take it? If you're taking it for science literacy, well, what are you going to do in a third year that you couldn't have done in the first 2 years? The whole idea of 11th, 9th grade, and 10th grade, that's where you get all the stuff that everybody needs to know no matter where they go. 11th grade and 12th grade, that's supposed to be where kids take off and start taking different electives based on what they are particularly interested in. That's not necessarily science and might suit their post-graduation goals. But now, all of a sudden, that's going to cost electives because now we have to hire science teachers to teach science classes, and that means our elective programs are going to suffer. And that's where kids now are not going to be able to take other elective classes that they might be interested in. Was this best for students? No, it wasn't best for students. Again, it's what made politicians look good and helped them get reelected. A third example? Sure, I got a third example for you. Core 24. How many of you have heard of Core 24? Are you guys in education or something? Well, there you go. So next year's freshmen are going to have to earn 24 credits to graduate instead of the 22 that's currently there. So just to do the math for you, that means they cannot fail a single semester of any class in high school without being put at risk for graduation. I'm saying if they fail even one semester of any class, they are no longer on track to graduate. How are they going to make that up, that credit? Well, they could go to summer school. That ain't free. That's going to cost money. You could take an online class to make up the credit. That ain't free. That's going to cost money. So basically, we're setting up a system where any student who fails one or semester, if you got the money for it, you can graduate. If you don't got the money for it, you're screwed. We're setting up students to fail. I asked our district data cruncher, well, like roughly what % of our students are failing one or more semesters? 30%, she said. 30%. That's almost a third of our students are going to be on track to fail unless they got the money to make up for it. Does that sound fair to you? No. Does that sound like what's best for our students? No. Again, it's what was good for politicians to help them get around with it. Did I mention that this is all in spite of the state Supreme Court ruling in 2011 that our legislature is already failing its constitutional mandate to adequately fund public schools? Raise your hand if you know what the McCleary ruling was. Okay, so everyone who doesn't have their hands up, all three of you, that was a state ruling, the Supreme Court ruling that said our state is like the only state in the country that has it in their state constitution that says our legislature has a constitutional duty to adequately fund public education. And by the legislature's own definition, they were failing to do that. So that was 2011. Here it is 2017. For the last 6 years, they've been consistently, systematically underfunding our schools. At the same time, they keep raising the bar and raising the expectations on our students. Do you think that's what's best for students? No. That's what we call setting them up to fail. Okay? That's not setting up students in schools to succeed. That's setting up to fail. And as I told you at the beginning of this little talk, which I'm probably going to wind up sometime fairly soon, okay, this isn't just about the war on education in schools. This is way bigger than that. Okay? This is part of the systematic conservative plan that's always been there. You sabotage valuable government programs to fail just so they can point to those programs, point to that failure, and use that as an excuse to cut funding for those programs altogether and divert that money to the private sector where a few very, very rich people are going to get a whole lot richer. You understand what I'm talking about? Okay. It's the same. Who are these oligarchs that are doing that? They're the same ones that are pushing for charter schools, the same ones that are pushing for private schools, the same ones that are pushing to privatize Social Security, the same ones that are pushing to privatize Medicare, the same ones that are pushing to privatize the infrastructure program that they're talking about right now, the same ones that got Trump elected, the same ones that are blocking any action to fight climate change. That's what I'm saying. This isn't just about the war on education in schools. This is about the war on truth. It's about the war on our environment. It's about the war on workers' unions and workers' rights. And it's about the war on the very democracy and the future of our republic. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay. So like it or not, we are at war, and the enemy is within. What we need to do is organize and fight back. Who are we? We are indivisible. Who are we?
We are indivisible.
Who are we?
Indivisible.
Say after me. We are indivisible. 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 Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. We need you back every week to help us with our chanting. So I am thrilled now to introduce a student activist who's taking a little time out from school to come talk to us, and her name is Quinn Sullivan. Quinn is a senior at Garfield High School, and she's currently making the decision between attending the University of California at Berkeley or the University of Loyola at Chicago. What do you guys think? All right, no pressure, Quinn, no pressure. Along with her interest in soccer and dance, Quinn is also an editor for her school paper, which I read, The Messenger, and a leader of both Garfield's Gay Straight Alliance as well as the Special Olympics Project Unity, which is a group that joins people of different abilities to play sports. And going forward, Quinn hopes to expand her passion in social justice by studying sociology and political science while continuing her efforts to make a really positive impact in our community. So let's give Quinn a warm welcome.
Woo!
Thank you. Okay. There is a sign outside of my old elementary school, Madrona, that reads, "Education is the soul of society passed down through generations." People that say that public schools don't work either didn't attend one or they don't really know what they're talking about. I can't speak for everyone, but public education has been an incredible opportunity for me and many of my fellow Garfield Bulldogs. Although I am a young white woman, an identity that comes with a great deal of privilege, many of my classmates do not have that same privilege. Our shared public education comes with an abundance of resources and opportunities, some of which are not offered at private schools. The best part about public education is that it serves all people. When I learned that Donald Trump and his Education Secretary Betsy DeVos plan to take money away from public schools like mine, and instead increase the budget for voucher and charter schools, I was dumbfounded. I don't know when they last attended a public school, but we barely have enough money for paper. In truth, the government just doesn't give us the funds we need to be as successful as possible. I find it mind-boggling that Trump and DeVos want to deprive us of more. My school, as a whole, has been able to get by on limited funds. We know how to make do without the fanciest technology, and we make sure to remind ourselves that there are 1,000 schools that have it worse. However, it's not the school as an institution that I am worried about. It's the people inside, the students that have declining attendance because the staff doesn't have the training to help them with their poor mental health. The students that do not have support at home and are barely passing. The students who have severe mental disabilities and suffer within a program that cannot justly serve them. The lack of funding towards public education is hurting these kids. Kids that I sit next to in class, comfort at our Project Unify meetings, and don't know because our school self-segregates in an incredibly sad way. We need more funding because we don't know how to deal with this. There are no solutions set in place among our overworked and underpaid teachers, and it doesn't feel like there is enough support coming from above. I can only imagine how it is in schools with even fewer resources than mine. It makes me angry and heartbroken. This is not just about Garfield. This is about all schools throughout the United States. A country where we pride ourselves in opportunity, yet could do far better in the realm of education. Betsy DeVos' statements suggesting that a federal civil rights law for students with disabilities was better left up to the states, that she would not oppose guns in schools, and that she refuses to support equal accountability among all schools receiving taxpayer dollars, are some of the many testaments to why this administration negatively impacts education in this country. One of the things I am most proud of within my own school is the overwhelming support students share with one another. It is evident in the encouraging words and applause when a student performs at an assembly, the common willingness to help people out in class, and in our giant poster by the front entrance, where hundreds of students have signed to acknowledge that they support people of all identities. I am proud to say that I attend a school full of people that care about others. Trump doesn't care about others. He and his administration do not care about serving all young people under a fair and accessible education system. But as much as I want to scream and cry and laugh at the absurdity that is this current political climate, I am going to push forward like all of you here today. I may only be a young person, but I, like many others my age, am a young person with the urge to speak up and do something. Thank you all for caring, but more importantly for taking action. I am honored to be beside so many people challenging the systems of oppression and brokenness in this country. We may have a long way to go, but when we get there, it will be forever worth it. Thank you.
Wow. So thank you so much, Quinn. Beautiful words. I think one thing in the conversations that I've had with a lot of you, both before these rallies begin and after, is hope, right? Like, how do you keep hope? And when you see someone like Quinn and where she's going to go in life, and you know there are hopefully a whole bunch of other Quinns out there, that gives me hope, and I'm sure it does for you too. So thank you so much, and thanks to her proud mother. Thank you both. So speaking of hope, I'm going to read a little bit of spoken word, and I think like a lot of us, you know, from time to time, sort of the mental drain of what's going on gets to be too much. And so I wrote this the other day as I was looking out my office window and having a little fantasy about the future. So it's just a short piece, and then we'll go into another song by Tae, and then have announcements. My office window looks out at the Statue of Liberty. On this day, the sun is out after being shrouded for weeks by clouds gifting snow and rain. The water and sky beam a gentle blue, and Elliott Bay, the body of water at the base of Lady Liberty, is perfectly calm. I have a desire to float atop the flat surface, look up at that tranquil sky while I try to calm my hysteria. You see, on Alki Point in Seattle, there is a replica of the Statue of Liberty. She is much smaller than the original, 6 feet to New York Harbor's 305. She has been referred to as a little sister to her East Coast sibling. In times of crisis, people gather around her, lighting candles at her feet. Shouldn't that be every day right now? If it were warm out, I'd like to lay at those feet, the bricks below me warming my body. I am so mentally spent that I would cradle my head in my hands and simply sob, pouring out in tears everything that feels at risk: reproductive rights, education rights, civil rights, respect, decency. My salty tears would roll down my face and drop onto her feet, creating freckled shadows that would slowly fade as it seeped beneath her surface. I would like to believe that this could trigger her to life, that she could rise up, growing from her scant 6 feet to full size, and take a graceful but powerful step from West Coast to East, from this Washington to that. I'd like to believe that she could stand in front of the White House, then slowly kneeling, peer through the windows of the Oval Office, her stern, knowing face sending a message. Could she reach in with a gentle hand? Could she take him between her fingers, drawing him out as he was finally too shocked to speak? Imagine the beautiful silence. No blame cast, no executive order signed, no glance the other way as acceptance of racism accelerates. She would drop him into one of the many creases of her robe, like a crevice on a glacier, where he would fall so far down into the dark that no sound from within would reach outside, and only a deafening silence would surround him inside. There he would be left with only his own thoughts and no audience to provide the attention he requires to breathe, to live, to maintain sanity. Because what he has gifted to us, this insanity, we return to him. Whether he would benefit and grow from this reflection, we would never know, because his actions require a life sentence. Rising up, the little sister would lightly pull up the folds of her skirt just enough so she could step forward and start north to New York. When she reached the harbor, she would grasp hands with her big sister, and they would hold their arms victoriously over their heads, while a crescendo of elation would ripple across the U.S., from east to west, back to Seattle, where I lay on Alki Point, at the base which once held her, gaining back my strength. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, and I just would love to put the word out. I know we have a lot of artists and writers here, and we welcome you each week. So please just reach out to me if you'd ever like to read anything that you've written. And with that, we are going to hear some more music from Tae Phoenix, everybody.
Woo.
So I wrote this song, it's called Personally, and it's actually my first time performing it live, so there's going to be a little audience participation if you guys want to join me. And I wrote it for my uncle, who voted for Donald Trump and who I have not spoken with since Thanksgiving, and I don't plan to speak with ever again, most likely. You say, don't take it personally. Well, that's some really bad advice. 'Cause it's been personal for centuries, and real people pay the price. Hey, what's the matter? You didn't think of that before. What's the matter? Are you trying to start a war? Your choices become violence when they break humanity. So I respectfully reserve the right to take that personally. I'm gonna take it personally. Well, you say you have a right to your opinion, and I guess that's technically true. But in this case, your special sacred opinion is that there are people less human than you. Hey, what's the matter? You didn't think of that before. What's the matter? Are you trying to start a war? Your choices become violence when they break humanity. So I respectfully reserve the right to take that personally. I'm gonna take it personally. Well, I'm not so proud of the thoughts in my head. I've been running round in circles looking for compassion instead. But the truth is, I'm kind of afraid we're all gonna end up dead. But what's that you said? Oh yeah, don't take it personally. Hey, what's the matter? You didn't think of that before. What's the matter? Are you trying to start a war? Your choices become violence when they break humanity. So I respectfully reserve the right to take that personally. Oh, I'm gonna take it personally. I'm taking it personally because I'm Jewish and my family member voted for a fascist. Why are you taking it personally? Tell me, shout it out. Why are you taking it personally? Yeah, I don't like Nazis either. Anybody else? Why are you taking it personally? Never again. For my children? War on women? Alternative facts. Yeah, that's really personal. I'm taking Neil Gorsuch personally. Are you taking Neil Gorsuch personally? Thank you. Hey, what's the matter? You didn't think of us before. What's the matter? Are you trying to start a war? Your choices become violence when they break humanity. So I respectfully reserve the right to take that personally. I'm gonna take it personally. Thanks, guys. Let's go inside and tell our senators what the hell we think.
Wow, what a lift. Thank you, Tae. That was awesome. Let us know when that's on YouTube so we can replay it. All right, that's awesome. I love it. All right, so we are headed into announcements. So a couple announcements and actions. So yesterday, I think probably most of you know, the Senate Judiciary Committee did approve Gorsuch in a party line vote, 11-9. Yeah, so he will move forward now to the full Senate. Murray, as you all know, said she would filibuster Gorsuch pretty quickly. Yes, thank you. And thanks to your voices, Cantwell has said that she will as well. So keep speaking up. So we'll be all watching that this week. Seattle Indivisible has a hands-on meeting this Thursday, which is the 6th. It will be at Garfield Community Center at 7:15, so please join us for that. And I want to bring a few people up that have announcements. Ben, where is Ben? So Ben with Americans for Refugees and Immigrants, he spoke a few weeks ago, has some information he wants to share.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Just a brief introduction. I served 6 years in the Navy years ago, and people thank me for my service. I consider what you all doing here and Rachel's leadership far more patriotic than what I did. You are helping this nation to be its best, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mean it. Two, what I represent today is All In for Action. You are all familiar with Washington State's most progressive tax code. Who here feels like that reflects their values?
No, it doesn't.
Obvious question. Apologies for wasting your 5 seconds. There's a fight going on right now in Washington State that you can take part in the state legislature. 2 weeks ago, the Republican-held Senate released their budget. Cliff's notes, it's not positive. It's not positive for education, it's not sustainably funded, and it puts more of the burden on the backs of those least equipped to pay for it. House Democrats responded with House Bill 2186, which has new revenue, mind blown, imagine paying for the things that we want, and it primarily funds these through capital gains. It affects less than 2%. It raises $715 million for things like education, so Quinn and her colleagues, who don't have as privilege as me, or her, can realize their potential. Imagine an education system that's funded appropriately. What I have today are, very briefly, 10 more seconds of your time, I appreciate your attention, are calls to action. We have a simple 5-minute phone call line that you can call. You guys are fighting like hell, and it's appreciated at the federal level. But in our own communities, in our own state, the people we see every day on the streets, those people are in need of your voices as well. I know there's limited time and we can't sign every petition and go to every rally. I think a lot of you have tried. Thank you for that, but we just can't do it. But this is big. This is the fight to enact a more progressive tax code in Washington State. And with that, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll pass out some of these sheets. If you're interested, I've got a sign-up sheet as well. So thank you, Rachel, as always. Appreciate the hell out of all you guys.
Awesome. We'll post it on the Facebook site too, this information as well, so you can also look there. So next I'm going to turn it over to Kip to make an announcement. Kip?
There. All right. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, last night I was at a Progressive Democrats of America. Last night I was at a Progressive Democrats of America meeting where I found out that there's a rally this Saturday at the University of Washington at the hospital, and it's going to be supporting single-payer health care. Now, what I saw is a pretty small meeting we had last night, and I'm hoping that people will show up to support that. I think right now is the time. You saw. Did you hear what Trump said about he didn't realize how complicated healthcare is? Okay, there's a simple solution, and that's Medicare for all. If you realize the administrative costs for insurance companies, I believe, are 30 to 35%. Medicare, it's 3%. It's a huge difference. And I could go on and on. I'm learning about healthcare, but I know it makes economic sense, and that should make sense to the conservatives. So I'd like to see if you and your friends can show up on Saturday. That's an event. But I think bigger than that, let's see if we can actually make something creative happen and get single-payer health care. That should be an American right. Why don't we're a wealthy country. Why can't we provide health care for everyone? Isn't that a human value? Yes. So, anyway, okay, it's 2 o'clock at the University of Washington Hospital. So we'll be there, and so if you can show up, and also I'll work on coordinating with Indivisible and see if we can get it posted and promoted. I know Progressive Democrats of America have a Facebook page, etc. So thank you for your time, and thank you for being here. This is awesome.
Great, thank you, Kent. So every week we share this plaza with Veterans for Peace, and we have Dan who's going to talk about a peace rally that will actually be here on Tuesday the 18th. So not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. We'll have the regular rally next Tuesday. So Dan.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Keep up the resistance. Okay. April 18th, tax day. Have you all got your taxes done? You've got a little extension. It's usually the 15th. But we had a veteran here talking about taxes in our state of Washington. But every year on tax day, Veterans for Peace does a tax day action to highlight the amount that our tax dollars go to the military in the discretionary federal budget. You probably know that it's around 54% of our tax dollars that are in the discretionary budget goes to the military. And it's actually even higher than that when you figure in some of the other aspects of the military that are in different departments. Like the nuclear, $20 billion is in the energy department, so that's not even counted. So it's even worse than that. And then with Trump asking for a 10% increase in military spending, you see the direction that we're going with the federal budget. And so everything else gets short shrift. Education, climate change issues, all those things we need for human and social needs. So we are going to be handing out the pie chart from the National Priorities Project on the 18th here, and it will show and make the public aware of how much of our tax dollars are going to the wrong things. I mean, the American people, polls have showed, do not have the military spending as the majority of our tax dollars. So we need to let people know and get them on board with us to oppose these huge military spendings in our federal budget and reorientate our priorities. So thank you for letting us be in on your Tuesday, and we'll see you then. And I have some flyers. It's from 11:30 to 1:30 next Tuesday. And if you'd like a flyer, I have some here you can take. Pardon? Right, 2 weeks from today. Yes.
Yeah, so that was the 18th. So not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after, 11:30 to 1:30 here. Okay, so I need to talk with some of the other Indivisible folks, but I think the intent would be we'll probably combine efforts, since that'll be a greater to support our partners here who we've been sharing the plaza with for the last 3 months. Yeah, so that's the plan. Any other announcements?
Hi, I'm back. Anybody got plans on the evening of April 17th? It's a Monday coming up in a couple weeks. As you may or may not know, that is April recess, and to our knowledge, neither of our two senators have committed to doing town halls or having any of their staffers do town halls. So we're going to go ahead and do what we're calling a town meeting, and this is actually an event that's being co-sponsored by Indivisible North Seattle, Seattle Indivisible, and Indivisible East Side, other Indivisible groups with a total combined membership of over 10,000 members. So we have invited elected representatives to be there. We already know that Representative Jai Paul's district director will be there to represent her. We've got other folks that we have invited but have not confirmed yet for sure. We're going to have speakers there about Medicare for All, about the Russia investigation, about flipping the 45th LD, about defeating Dave Reichert, and other important topics with actionable items. We're also going to have an activist fair with tables set up so that all the folks who want to get involved to be citizen activists but don't really know how to get started can learn how to use social media like Facebook and Twitter and ResistBot and 5Calls and Slack and all that good stuff. We'll have tables set up there so they can learn how to do that. And probably most importantly, it's a really chance for members of Indivisible groups all around the Seattle, Puget Sound area to get together, connect, and network face-to-face instead of online for a change. So we just announced it yesterday, just went public, so I don't even have any flyers to share with you. But if you go on the Indivisible North Seattle website, the event link is pinned to the top. I'm pretty sure Alex is going to be posting it on the Seattle Indivisible page soon as well. So just wanted to put that out there and hope to see you there. Oh, I'm sorry, Shoreline Center, up in Shoreline, April 17th, 7 to 9 p.m. Sound good? Thank you.
All right, so we will close out. As always, we'll take the signs up here before people go in, if you're going in to speak with the senator's staff, because we can't take the signs. For next week, we are going to focus on Trump's business ties and Russia. Yeah, so that'll be the focus. And now I just want to ask, are we engaged?
Yes!
Will we persist?
Yes!
Are we doing it for our democracy?
Yes!
Do we still have hope?
Yes!
Will we be out here every Tuesday for the long run?
Yes!
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you.